the loudest cheers I've heard in a long time. And then the Prime Minister came and addressed the crowd to thunderous applause. You could hardly move. You could hardly move. You could hardly hear yourself because the screaming and the yelling was so loud. And a few moments ago, the Secretary to Sir John Kerr came and actually read the announcement that the double dissolution bills were to go ahead. And here's part of his announcement, which is barely you can barely hear over the crowd.
The Governor-General of Australia do, by this my proclamation, dissolve the Senate and the House of Representatives, given under my hand and the Great Seal of Australia on the 11th of November 1975 by His Excellency's command, Malcolm Fraser, Prime Minister, John R. Kerr, Governor-General. God save the Queen.
Ladies and gentlemen, well may we say, God save the Queen, because nothing will save the Governor-General. The proclamation which you have just heard read by the Governor-General's official secretary was countersigned Malcolm Fraser. Who will undoubtedly go down in Australian history from Remembrance Day 1975 as Kerr's Kerr. The Governor-General signed that proclamation, and it was... We'll put it on. They won't silence the outskirts of Parliament House, even if the inside has been silenced for the next few weeks. The Governor-General's proclamation was signed after he had already made an appointment to meet the Speaker at 4:45. The House of Representatives had requested the Speaker to give the Governor-General its decision that Mr. Fraser did not have the confidence of the House and that the Governor-General should call me to form the government. That motion, Prime Minister, and requesting...
That was Mr. Whitlam on the steps of Parliament House. He left the crowd with his both arms held aloft in a victory salute. He left them with this message. He asked all ALP supporters for the next 4.5 weeks, 4.5 weeks before an election, to maintain the rage and the enthusiasm that they've shown on the steps today.
That was indeed the strongest and most emotional speech I think I've heard from Mr. Whitlam in a very long time. Max Teichmann in Melbourne, would you agree? I can't, you're not coming through quite clearly, Max. There's a problem with the line somewhere. Just see if we can sort it out. No, we've got problems. Andrew Potter in Canberra, if you're still there, any further developments in sight there?
Just Mr. Whitlam, I understand, is still on the steps at this stage, Hugh, and we're still waiting on Mr. Fraser. We do have an interview with Mr. Fred Daly, and we'll come back to you in a few minutes with that.
All right. One group we haven't heard from in any detail this afternoon, of course, is from the Liberal or National Country parties. We spoke earlier to Mr. Peter Nixon from the National Country Party, but beyond that, we're very much waiting on what Mr. Fraser, who is, of course, our Prime Minister at the moment, will have to say when he holds his press conference later on this afternoon.